Hi, my name is Hope Kanoa. I'm a senior at Kalaheo High School, and for this film I was majorly cameraman, but I also acted the role of Hope.
I'm Justin Pasquale, and overall I'm the writer and the director of the film, and I also do various other tasks like editing, VFX, and sound design.
My name's Konoi Nakata, and I produced this film, or helped produce this film.
My name's Brianna Martinez, and my character, I play myself, but my character is a rookie cop, just got out of training, and she's just experiencing like her first real experiences in like the real world as a police officer, and she goes through a lot. She kind of has her own little mental health struggles that she's going through, so she kind of sees how she has to deal with that, along with having such a tough job with what she's doing. And so yeah, you kind of see throughout the movie how she deals with everything, and how she kind of changes a little bit and how she reacts to different things.
My name is Gerardo Rodriguez. I played the role of Ralph, the father, in this movie.
Harmazin Kaimana, also Harm. I'm Sarge.
It all kind of started in my junior year of high school when me and my producer Kanoi made this short video and we put it up on YouTube, and it wasn't the greatest. So we had an idea that we wanted to make maybe a longer version in the future. So we kind of curbsided that idea. Now when I hit my sophomore year in college, that's when I had a little bit more freedom with my project and a little more free time to do things. And that's when we started to revive that idea. And we had to think, okay, how can we locally relate this to things that are happening here in Hawaii? And so we're searching for stories, and one common thing that was popping up when it came to crime in Hawaii was human trafficking. And when I researched it, I saw that a lot of these cases were runaway cases, and a lot of these cases weren't your typical human trafficking case where you'd think it's a lot of abuse and a lot of drinking and drugs. There are those things in that area of crime. However, it's not as prevalent as you might think, especially here in Oahu. It's a lot of the times the victims are just coerced and convinced that they are doing something for themselves when they sell themselves onto the street. And a lot of the times the people that are grooming them, the people that are putting them out on that street and using them are people that they know and trust, such as their partners or their relatives. So I really wanted to highlight that in this film. I thought that was an important message. So that, coupled with the fact that we wanted to do something with police and we wanted to expand on those stories, we also paired that with me wanting to tell not just the criminal side, not just the police side, but I just wanted to tell human stories. I wanted to show the victim's point of view. So that's why in this film you get multiple perspectives. And I think that's one of my favorite things in the film, is that these characters start off on their separate paths, but then they end up crossing paths in the end, and I like to see how they interacted with each other, coming from totally different experiences while also having some similarities with each other.
I think if you want to challenge your perspective on things, you should watch things that you might not always agree with. I think this sheds light on a lot of aspects that people don't think about in their everyday life.
It has an impactful message that a lot of movies don't talk about, and it's like an unheard of story. Like, that happens a lot in society and in this workforce. So it's good for people to have a perspective on that through this movie.
I think that a lot of people, like, they have a lot of different stigma, especially nowadays with who police officers are and what they do. But I think this movie, it really tries to bring it to light a lot of the issues that like, especially here in Hawaii, that is going on, but it also, while covering that, shows that like the things that all these police officers are going through, like, it's not easy to do what they do, and it's hard, and it impacts them with what they see. And just because they may have made mistakes, it still impacts them, and it still affects them day to day, and they have to live with that for the rest of their life. And that's not something that a lot of people realize. Being honest, in the beginning when he asked me to be a police officer, it was when the Black Lives Matter movement was going on a lot, and I had my own views on that I didn't necessarily want to be portrayed as a cop, just because, I guess, yeah, I had my own reservations about everything. And once he explained more what the movie was about, and not just, oh, it's just a cop movie, like, it's so much more than that, my view kind of changed on it to actually, like, I guess that was like one of his goals, to have people realize like this isn't what people like, how it's like. Yeah, my view on it kind of was just like, oh well, not that all cops are bad, but you know what you're signing up for and you're not thinking about what you're doing. But in the movie, like having to put myself into their shoes, I guess you can see it's so much harder to like always try and do the right thing. Like, it's easier said than done kind of thing.
I do like it just because it kind of reminds me of one thing that most police, that I feel like a lot of people do forget about police, is that they're just people. Like, you know, they have the exact same emotions that you do. They go through the same thought process that most regular people do. It's just that they have a different job and different dynamic to deal with it. And I think it's kind of eye-opening to show that they're not all bad guys. Like, I don't think all cops are bad guys. Are they like, do they make bad decisions? Are they the heat of the moment? Do they have bad judgment? Yes, but I don't really believe most cops go out to be a bad cop. I don't know, it's a movie that just doesn't demonize cops just because it's the hot thing to do, you know? It's like there are good cops out there trying to do like well. They want to help out their communities, they want to help out like their area. But it just seems like society just bogs them down so much they can't even do that anymore without being chastised.
It's a very important subject that should be known to all, and this film does a good job showing that.
I think a lot of things concern me when things are coming out in the news, and so a lot of things happen from when the film idea was in the incubator to being played out. And every time there was like a social change or shift in opinion about police or about sex trafficking, it kind of made me think, oh, how are people gonna look at this film? And I had to step back and think, you know, there's nothing wrong with what we're doing, and people are always gonna not like something someone puts out. Everyone's gonna have their opinion, not everyone's gonna like something you do. So I think having to overcome thinking about people's opinions on this film is something I had to just learn to deal with.
One of the hardest scenes to film was when we were at Kelly's house, which was actually my house, and they like shot her and all of that stuff. It was just hard for me because since Corona, I haven't really had too much experience with like cameras and stuff. Like for a while, I hadn't touched a camera because I don't own one. I only use the ones that I get from the school. And obviously, since we weren't in person, I couldn't do that. So I just had to get like my bearings back. And also, I've only ever filmed documentative interview type things with tripods, no movement, static stuff. So it was hard for me to try and like adapt to the action style, you know, movement of the camera and stuff like that. Actor-wise, all of them were hard because I've never acted before. I'm not really an actress, but I tried my best. The hardest scene actor-wise was probably the ending part when I'm rescued, because I watched that footage back and I look stupid. But it's really hard for me to get the correct facial expressions. So yeah, I just struggle a lot with that.
Because I'm still kind of a new actor, and I just didn't know if I was going to play the role well enough. And that was really just my major concern. It was mostly myself. I don't know if I was be able to do it. This is still very new to me.
We filmed this during COVID, so being able to see people and interact was nice, and it was good, and it was like the only interaction I was maybe getting sometimes. I mean, I got a lot of cool props that I now can use for other things.
One of my favorite memories from filming is actually from one of the deleted scenes where I was on this like higher thing in a room, like kind of like a bunk bed with no ladder. And they had to lift me up on there because I was too short, and I stood on Kanoe's shoulders to get up there, and I couldn't get down either, so I had to like jump off, and that was really scary. It took a couple tries to get the shot of Justin like lifting me down, and the first try he kind of like gave me a wedgie because I came down like too fast, and he like his hand slipped and it like brought my pants up, so I had a wedgie. But yeah, that's one of my favorite memories. My favorite scene to film on the camera side was also the rescue scene, because I could feel through it that like we were hitting like the ending resolution climax part of the movie where everything gets resolved. And filming those kinds of stuff is very like an experience to me because you get to see all of your hard work compiled into this one kind of last part that you're doing, the final stretch. And I really like that feeling. My favorite scene to film actor-wise was the water tower because I didn't have to act, that's just how I am. And so it didn't really take too much on my toll, but it also did seem kind of awkward because I am kind of an awkward person. But I mean, hey, it was fun for me because I got to see somewhere new. I've never been there before, and it was just really fun because, you know, they're all my friends. I like hanging out with them. Everyone that made this movie I'm cool with, so I love seeing new people and hanging out with my friends.
I have a lot of good memories. In the beginning, I was kind of like anxious because I'd never been in a film before. But then, while filming, there's like a lot of funny moments, especially anytime we had to say dialogue, especially with Justin, because he messed up more than I did. And so, it was just kind of funny. Like, I know there's a lot of bloopers where we just messed up a lot, or like it'd be like a really sad scene, and then we just be like looking at each other a certain way and be like, "Don't look at me like that. I'm trying to be serious." So yeah, those kinds of moments were funny.
When I was excited, because I've never been in a film before or anything like that. I just started acting whenever I got the chance to do it. And I heard through a friend of a friend, and they asked me if I wanted to volunteer for this movie. I said, yeah, why not? And I'm glad I did. I thought it was a good bit of fun. I enjoyed it. It wasn't as high pressure. Because I could say my lines like, okay, cut, we could try it again. And I actually did enjoy that a little bit more. I could improvise a little bit more.
Favorite thing that happened would be when we did the game room scene when I got jabbed in the chest and I fell down.
It's all rewarding. I think every time we're on set, I learn something. I learn something about myself, I learn something skill-wise. I think that's what's rewarding about this. That Justin always says, where everyone's volunteering and no one's getting anything out of it, no one's getting paid, but I'm gaining a lot of knowledge, I'm gaining a lot of skills, and I think that's more important than the monetary compensation you can get in doing something. And now, after this experience, when I watch things, I can watch a YouTube skit and I'd be like, wow. Or I'll watch a film and I'll be like, wow, to think about what they did to produce that. I have so much more appreciation for the filmmaking.
I think we were really fortunate, and I think this project could have gone on much longer than it has already. So I'm actually really grateful for the way that things turned out, especially since when we did have delays, we were able to take advantage of those delays and improve the film. So I'm really grateful for everything and everyone involved in the project. So thank you guys.